Now that we are able to take the derivative of all these different types of functions, we want to begin to look at all of the applications of a derivative and what the derivative can do for us. And in order to do that, we have a discovery right here. So we're going to base everything that we write off of this picture right here. And we can see that the units are 1 in both the horizontal and vertical axis. So let's look at part A. Part A says, as you move from left to right along the graph. So as we move from the left side to the right side along the graph. On what intervals are the function values, in other words, the y-coordinates, decreasing? Okay. So decreasing we know means getting smaller. So we can see as we go from left to right, our y values start at 8 and drop to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 0, and into the negatives. So basically our y values decrease all the way until this point right here. And then our y values begin to increase, right, once we bottom out. Now this point right here seems to line up with about -5.5. So we can say this is our x, our intervals involving x, from -infinity to -5.5. That's this section right here. We're also decreasing from the top of this hill down to the bottom of that valley. So that's basically from 0, x is equal to 0, that's the y-axis, until about 4.5 there. So also 0 to, let's call it 4.25. Right? On those two intervals, the function values are decreasing. Number 2 says, on what intervals are the function values increasing? Well, we already talked about how from the bottom of this valley to the top of this hill, right, our function starts at -9.5 and grows all the way up to 1. So our y values are increasing from -9.5 to 1. Now the x values, again, are -5.5 until 0. Those are the x values, so they're going to go on our interval from -5.5 until 0. And also we had our other decreasing interval end right here, and lo and behold, we are increasing afterwards. So from 4.25 onward, we also have y values, y coordinates, which are increasing. So 4.25 to infinity. Now it says that for number 3, the graph changes direction at 3 points. Estimate the coordinates of these 3 points. All right, so changing direction means changing from decreasing to increasing or vice versa. So there's one point right there. There's another point right there. And the third point right there. So we already know the x coordinates. We used them in the previous problems. So we have -5.5, say -9.5. And then we have over 0 up 1. And finally over 4.25 and down 4. Number 4 says the graph has a somewhat uneven U shape to it on 2 intervals. What are these intervals? So a U shape, uneven U shape, basically right there we see a U shape. It seems to stop somewhere in this range. So let's just say it stops right around there. So that would be -infinity until about -3. On those x values from -infinity to -3, we have a U shape. And we also have a U shape from, say, right around here. And that seems to be from about 2.5 onward, right about that point or so. So 2.5 to infinity. And finally, the graph has an upside down U shape on an interval. What's this interval? Well, that's going to be the interval in between these two, from -3 to 2.5. There's our upside down U. So hopefully you're able to work your way through this discovery, and the answers that you came up with were similar to the answers that you see right here. My answers are not necessarily exact, they're just ones to guide you and match up with what you already came up with.